Hello, everyone. Good morning or good evening. How are you people? How was your weekend?
Hi, Luxai. All
Hi.
good.
It's good actually.
How was your weekend?
Yeah, it's good actually.
Good. I mean, weekend with DevOps.
Yeah, we just practiced the Git and revised the Git and just practiced Jenkins also. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Git and Jenkins. So, how's that? Like, did you get any questions or issues while practicing? Are you able to manage it by yourself?
It's pretty much very good actually. I can able to after seeing following notes, I can pretty much learn, able to learn everything actually.
Perfect.
I need to practice actually. I think for my betterment of my learning. That's why I feel that.
Okay. So, how about others?
I also practiced, but not Jenkins. I started again with the Linux and then Git. So I completed both the modules in these 3 days, along with this little bit of Docker.
Okay. Docker introduction only we had, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. So whatever you taught that day, I
Mhm.
just went through all that.
Okay. So, what's the plan now? How about others, guys? Are we good to proceed further or any other questions? Any follow-up questions on that?
Uh,
So,
uh,
yeah,
Hello. Yes.
yes.
Uh, so I have a doubt. If you delete your EC2 instance running Jenkins, can you still access Jenkins without old public ID?
No, sir. How can it is possible? Like the server is
Ah,
no.
okay. Yes, sir. I understood. But again, I want to suppose I deleted my EC2 instance, which I created all the dependencies and plugins in that EC2 instance. Okay. So I deleted that EC2 instance. How can I get back that data again?
So you are concerned about the backup of that server, right? By
Yes.
chance or due to some accidental deletion of the server or anything happens, how we can able to recover it? That's the question, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, it's very simple. Don't worry. We'll talk about it. Hmm?
Yes.
Where we are. So, anyways, we have our next module, right? Like in our AWS module we have and Azure module we have, right? Azure Cloud or AWS Cloud. So there we'll be talking about all these things. There is a separate concept called volumes, okay, or a storage, cloud storage. So the cloud storage is not just about your storage servers. For each and every resource you create, what are the volumes needed? Let's say if you create a EC2 instance, how much volume will be allocated to EC2 instance in area? When you create any EC2 instance, how much volume is allocated for you for your particular VM? Any guess?
Maximum, I believe, if I'm not wrong, 30 GB.
Yes. So for any EC2 instance, you'll be getting 30 GB of EBS volumes. It's something like in your computer, right? Any laptop or any workstation, you have your hard disk, right? That's what the external storage. So they'll be providing 30 GB of volume, and what are all the softwares we install, whether it is a Jenkins or JDK or whatever, it's all gets installed in that particular volume. And if you see the volume, right, hope you all can see my console.
Yes.
So if I go to my EC2 instance dashboard, okay, and for any instance we choose, right? So that instance will be having its own storage. This volume is allocated. So there is a separate catalog list of volumes. Okay, so as of now, I have 3 volumes. Each instance will be allocated with the dedicated volume. And this volume is completely an external entity. It is not part of your instance. When you delete that or terminate that instance, automatically the volume also will get deleted by default. But if you want, you can choose that volume and take a backup of it. Create a snapshot. Snapshot means copy, take a backup of it. Or you can able to detach that volume from your instance. And if I click on this detach volume, it will expect the instance actually, which instance are attached to that one. So you can simply detach that volume. Also, if that instance is using some shared entities, like we have I want to attach these two volumes to my Jenkins master node, means it is possible. We can attach it. So in real-time environment, you never experience data loss, even if you lose your server. Understood? So there is a storage administrator whose responsibility is to ensure that the data, whatever generated, volume, whatever created, it is safe, even if you lose your computing environment. So there'll be a lot of scheduled jobs that gets executed on daily basis to take these snapshots. And the backup, whatever they take, right? Let's say I have just, created this volume in my Mumbai region. The volume which I take out of it, if I create a snapshot, I can able to save that backup in any other region. What if this region itself is down due to some issues? I can able to preserve it in other. That's what. So your data, the volume can be distributed in more than one or a different geographical region. It's possible. Right?
Yeah, let's say. Why? Because I actually faced this. Unfortunately, I deleted my EC2 instance, so that's why.
Here, see, listen, you are using your free tier account. Before you terminate any instance, please be very careful, because once you lose that, you'll be losing it permanently. If you don't want to use, if you want to enable some backup volumes, means without proper knowledge, don't do that, because it's all part of your paid entities. Correct? Right. So anyways, you'll be learning about it during your AWS module. Don't worry. With the demo.
Yeah.
Fine. Any other question? All good? All right. So if you're clear with this, then please let me know what you understand from the term containerization and difference between virtual machines and containers, as well as the terminologies whatever used here, like container engine, containerization, container image, containers, registries, repositories. So are you clear with that, or you need any inputs or understanding on that now?
No, it's clear.
All right. So if you're clear with that, then we'll move on to the next topic, where we'll be installing the container engine and work with the Dockerhub. So I hope you all have your Dockerhub account, right, with you now.
Yes.
Yes.
Signed up with
Anyone,
Git.
anyone yet to create that account? hub.docker.com. I shared the link with you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. So this is the interface. Okay, the Docker Hub interface. If we can see here, once ensure that you log in. Okay, because while creating an account, it might expect you to download some Docker desktop and all. It's not required. Just ensure that you can able to log into the account. Correct. You can use your same GitHub account details to create a new account here. It's possible. It will be very quick. Now, once you create an account, you should be able to log in, and you can able to explore all the images that are already available in your container registry. So in today's session, we'll see, first we'll talk about the Docker Hub. We'll explore the images available in Docker Hub, and then we'll see how to install container engine in Linux machine. And once the container engine is installed, then we'll see how to work with your Docker CLI commands. Right, so these are three entities we can have here. All right. Fine. So let's get into our container registry now. So container registry means it is used to manage your container images. For example, listen carefully. I think already you are comfortable working with GitHub, right? What is GitHub actually? What is the purpose of GitHub? It is used to version control the source code. Source code, right? Application code. And once the application is ready, we'll perform the application build, right? There is something called artifact library. So this is used to version control the artifacts. For example, consider I have the very initial version of my source code, like asterisk dot Java v1.0. So this is the version, very first version of my source code, which I can upload in my GitHub repository. Like this, whenever I commit the changes in source code repository, I can trigger the pipeline. That pipeline will perform the application build and create the artifacts, right? And that artifacts, whatever created, it will be in one version. Like I can able to consider it as WAR file. One WAR file is created for this v1.0 version. Similarly, developers can make some incremental changes in the program. Whenever they make any new changes, again, they will commit the changes to source code repository, and it can be considered like this. The new version will be created. For that new version also, the artifacts will be created, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Like this, whenever we make any incremental changes to our source code repository, the respective artifacts also will get created. So using GitHub, we can able to version control your source code changes, and using artifact library, we can use your WAR file snapshots there. So the artifact library means it can be your JFrog artifactory or AWS artifacts or Azure artifacts. Got a lot of things are there. It's a repository just to store or version control your artifacts. Similarly, once the WAR file is ready, like yesterday I was giving you the explanation about your containers, right? Where it is, this one. We were discussing about containers on development or deployment perspective. So whenever we create any application artifacts, we never deploy to target environment. Instead of that, we prepare one application image, and that image will be published into the container registry. And from there only it can be downloaded to the target environment. So for this particular version of your WAR file, if you create any image, okay, so that can be published into your container registry. Okay. So this is to version control the application images, or I can simply select Docker images. To be more
So from
precise.
GitHub repository, it's going to container registry.
Listen, please. So here I can say like web app image 1 v1.0. Similarly, I can create another image for the latest version, that is app image version 1.1. What's the question?
I'm saying from the GitHub repository, it's going to the container registry.
GitHub repository is used to maintain the version control, source code changes.
Okay.
It is not like from GitHub repository it's going to your containers. It's not like that. It's all independent entities, independent libraries or repositories. Each and every repository has its own use case. Got it?
Okay.
So as a developer, if you want to version control your source code, what you can use? GitHub. If you want to version control your application artifacts, you can use artifact label like JFrog. Or if you want, you can able to use Dockerhub here for your images.
Got it.
You see? So that is about your Dockerhub. And this Dockerhub, you can able to consider it as a open source as well as enterprise account. The account, whatever we have created here, it is an community account. Community account means anyone can able to quickly create an account. They can able to use this service for free. There's no limitations, but there might be some features that are disabled. Okay, but at enterprise level, if you want to implement, let's say I want to use this Docker Hub for my enterprise level project for one of my customers, means I cannot rely on the community account. I have to go with the enterprise account. That is a paid service. Correct? So now using our community account, we can able to version control the container images. First point. Apart from Docker Hub, we have other service also, like we have AWS. AWS is having their own container services, like we can say like Elastic Container Service, Elastic Container Registry, and Elastic Kubernetes Service. Hope I showed you that day. And similarly, if you're working on Azure, sorry, Azure means Azure is also having their own dedicated container service. Like we have something called Azure Container Service, Azure Container Registry, and Azure Kubernetes Service. And the next thing is about your Google Cloud Platform. They have Google Container Engine, Google Container Registry, and Google Kubernetes Engine. So these are all the services we have from the service providers. Okay. So this Docker Hub can be considered as open source, or anyone can able to quickly create an account and access it. For their open source projects, we can use it. But if you're talking about managed service from AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Platform, it's a paid service. There is nothing called community account and all. If you want to use, you have to pay for it. Correct? Easy?
Yes. And
Now, yeah.
okay, please continue. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. So now, the first and foremost thing is we have to understand what are all the features we have in Docker Hub. Because as I said, it is used to version control the application images. So it is not just for our application. There are a lot of community support is there. Okay, a lot of people who have access to this, they can able to publish their images. So if you can go to this Docker Hub, click on the Explore option, you can able to explore the huge list of content images that are already published in the registry. And we can able to see a lot of categories here. If you want to work on any API management or content management, data science, database related images, right? Machine learning or artificial intelligence. Based upon various categories, we have a huge list of images available here. And the images, it can be of 3 categories. One is, it is officially certified by Docker. So all the officially certified images are tagged like this. You can see the badge, right? That matters. And apart from this official image, there is something called verified publisher. Verified publisher means some third-party vendors, any vendor-specific tools. That is also considered as a verified publisher. It is also safe to use. And apart from that, there is something called sponsored open source services. They are any third-party users. Even you and me can able to create one image and upload it. But we cannot assure that it is 100% safe and secure. Correct? So at enterprise level, we never consider this sponsored open source services. It might be used for some open source projects, not for enterprise level project. So people working on Dockerhub, it is strongly recommended to use Docker official image. And if the image, whatever you're expecting, if it is not present in the list, then you can look for verified publisher. Got it? Both are certified by the publishers as well as Docker. Now, you can able to search for any image. There is a search bar here. You can able to search for any image. So what I said about image here, like yesterday, if you can see, what is the container image?
The static cell.
It is just a static file, right? Container image is just a static file that defines the properties and the dependencies of the application to create a container. It is non-executable and it composed of various layers of instructions. So when they publish any image to the container registry, they just publish as a static file. So you can search for any image. Like if you want to work on a base Ubuntu image, see, we have a OS based image Ubuntu. You can see from here, right? It is an Ubuntu image. And you can able to see the detailed documentation of that image. Any image you browse, you can see the detailed documentation, what it is all about, how to use it in your infrastructure, everything. And also there is a field called tags here. If you click on this, you can able to understand what are all the various versions of this image. Like this is the latest version. Noble 2025-01-27, just last month. I mean, the month of Jan, they released one new version 27 days ago, right? So if you want to download this image to your local machine and create a container out of it, because images are just a static file. If you want to create a container, you have to use that image, right? So containers are the executable units of your container image. So to download this image to local machine, you can use the command called docker pull command. It will just download this image to your local machine. Correct. Like this, we have a lot of things. Like if you can see here, I can search for any other images here, like Tomcat images there. I can work on this Tomcat image. I can able to explore the features, the tags, right? So now, after getting the list of images, if you want to work on any specific image and if you want to understand its properties, just click on that image name. And you can able to see the huge list of specifications, like what is the image ID and what are all the layers it has. As I said, image composed of various layers of instructions. So this Ubuntu image, it is having around 6 layers. Layers means it's all like a building block, the incremental changes. Whenever you make any changes in that particular image, that will be created as a new layer. And it's all created based upon some instructions like arg, label, add, cmd and all. Don't worry, I'll be talking about all those things in detail while we progress. As of now, you just try to understand the user interface, like how to log in, how to search for an image, how to get into the version of that image, where you can able to find the list of layers, everything. Similarly, if you go to the Tomcat image, this is the latest version. Just 4 days ago, they introduced this new version. If you click on this version, see, they have these many layers. Layers are just the building blocks, how to prepare that. Let's say if you want to set up a Tomcat server, what are things you do? You already did in your Jenkins module, right?
Yeah,
To set
yes.
up a Tomcat server, what are the steps you follow?
We have create one VM for that one, and then we are
Mm.
doing the packages for JDK and all the things.
Okay.
Yeah. After that, we have start the services for this Tomcat, and then we can able to see these web browsers.
All right. So the point here is, first we need a base OS. You have a VM, and in that VM, which OS you're going to use? On that operating system, you'll be downloading the JDK, you'll be setting up the Java environment variable, and you'll be extracting your Tomcat, and you'll be setting up your port number for the Tomcat, and then running the script to start the service. Like this, what are all the incremental changes you do on that particular image? All these things are based on the layers. Correct. This is just an existing image. In future, maybe tomorrow or not tomorrow, in the third day of our Docker session, maybe on Wednesday, Thursday, right? I will show you how to create our own image, how to add more layers to image. We'll talk about it. There will be easy for you to get more details. So as of now, understand images are a static file that can be maintained in your container registry, and every image has some number of layers that is defined with the help of their instructions. So what are all the instructions we have? What is env? What is run? What is expose? All those things we'll see while we progress. All right. This is a quick thing about your dashboard. That is your Docker hub. Any question you guys have? Guys?
How can I reach there under the Explore? You I can see its library. I'm under the Explore option on Docker Hub. How can I reach this page on which you are? Am I audible?
Yeah, it's
See,
audible.
are
Yeah,
you
just type
listen,
Tomcat on the search
listen,
bar.
listen, please. What are you doing now?
Me?
Yeah, who's working on it like now? It's you, right?
Sachin, yeah. I'm on the Docker main page.
Okay. See, please try to observe, okay? If you are doing it simultaneously, I don't think you'll be, in flow. So I repeat from the scratch, listen all of you. Once you log in, click on this explore button. Listen, okay? Don't click there, okay? Just listen, please. From here, you can able to use the search bar to search for any image. You'll be getting list of images based upon a search result. Click on the image which you are interested, and you can see the detailed documentation about that image. In the same page, you can able to get the list of versions of that image. This is the latest version. So if you click on any image, you can get the detailed description about that image, like the layers. This is what you're expecting, right?
Yeah, correct. I found it now. Thank you.
Okay, so this is about your Docker Hub. Any questions from anyone?
Sai, what do you mean by non-executable?
Non-executable means when I say an image, let's say this is a Tomcat image. If I want to work on this image, if I want to create or interact with this image, I cannot directly run this image. I have to convert this to a container. Got it? Because image is just a static file. It is not an executable entity. If you want to execute, you have to create container out of it. Containers are the instance of that image, which is
Okay.
used to run it.
So along with the images, certain dependencies will be there. Then we can execute inside that container, right?
Yeah, that's right. So what are the dependencies you have? Based upon that dependency, you create an image. You define it. For example, if I want to create a Tomcat image, I want to create an image called for a Tomcat. So to create a Tomcat server, what are all the dependencies you have? You need JDK and the Tomcat executable, right?
Correct.
And then you have to use your port numbers, and you should have your start script, right? So these are all the dependencies. So you just package all these things. You just define all these things in one file. That is what they did here, if you noticed. And they just saved in this registry. And if you want to work on it, you can use a Docker pull command to download. And once it is available in local machine, you can create a container out of it.
Got it. So within an image, there will be certain layers. So together they are called a image. All the layers included, they are called as image. And even the image is not like executable. It requires certain dependencies in order to execute the image, right? Inside the container, we are going to execute.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Right. So this is all about your Docker Hub. So once you're clear with this, then we'll see how to install Container Engine. So in order to install Container Engine, if you see the architecture, so what are all the components we have discussed in the last session, like Container Engine, containerization, container images, all these things are part of that architecture. So during the installation, you'll be working on all these things. So first we'll install this Container Engine, and we'll see how to use the existing image to create a container from the container registry. And once you're comfortable with all the basic CLI commands, then I'll show you how to create your own image and push it to the container registry. Right? So now, listen, please. I'll share one official page from where you can able to install Docker. So this is a page. I'll just put this in chat window, or you can now this document itself. So if you get into this page here, you can able to see the installation of Docker engine. So if you want to work in Docker, you have to install Docker Container Engine. So in which machine you want to install, whether you want to install it on Ubuntu machine or Debian or RHEL, depends upon that. You can able to choose that link and understand the package details, right? So these are the versions or packages. Docker.io is a package that you can use to install Docker. Simple, using a apt package manager, you can install it. So the command here is apt install docker.io f and y. So this small command can able to install Docker engine in your machine. See?
Yeah.
So
So
in which machine we are going to install? That is the point. We are not going to install it in our Windows machine. So already you have your Jenkins slave node, right? Hope you all have, no, or you deleted it.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
In your Jenkins module, you must have created a Jenkins slave node. And in the slave node, what are things you installed actually? You must have installed Git,
JDK, Maven.
JDK, and then Maven you have installed so far. Now you're going to install Docker engine. Simple. Because to install this container engine, I need a system. I already have a system, so I can use it. Instead of creating a new VM, you can use a slave node. Easy. So let's get into this and let me start this node first. I have a slave node, right, which we created for this batch only, no? Okay, let me start. So once the node is up and running, take the latest public IP address and go to your, what is this? Okay, code deploy. It's an Ubuntu machine. So in this machine, elevate the access to root level. Do we have Docker installed here by any chance? No. So what we can do, we can simply say apt install docker.io -y. The same command. If you're running as a root user, you can simply use apt install docker.io. Guys, please pay more attention because this Docker and Kubernetes are very important module for your no DevOps. So the fundamentals of Docker and Kubernetes, whatever we are covering here, you should be 100% sure about all the concepts. At least what are things you're learning from here, be clear with that. So we have installed Docker, and once Docker is installed, you can able to see Docker version. So this is the very first CLI command which we execute. The Docker CLI command. So this is to get the version of your Docker engine. So any doubt so far about the installation of container engine in your machine? So don't anticipate, okay, just install it in your slave node. Honestly, don't install in Jenkins or any other Tomcat server because it is not meant for that purpose. Slave node can be considered as a build environment. If I want to create a Docker image, I can use that build server. Easy? All good?
Loksai, you already mentioned CLI command for Docker installation. Then why did you mention this HTTPS link URL?
Come again, where it is?
docs.docker.com engine install.
I'm not getting a point. Like, see, this is a reference URL, okay? Like I shared this link, right?
Yeah.
So this is a link from where you can able to understand the official Docker documentations. Like if you want to install any packages, like tomorrow, if you want to work on Docker Compose, what are the other products available? Everything you can get from this official page for Docker container. Just a reference for the installation.
Okay.
By referring this page, you'll get to know this is a command to install Docker. So we are just execute this. And once Docker engine is installed, you'll be using a Docker CLI commands to interact with Docker engine. So what is the purpose of CLI command means? It is used to interact with Docker engine. Simple. It is used to interact with Docker engine. Right. So now, what are the various actions we are going to perform here? So there are some CLI commands, like there is something called Docker images. This command is used to get the list of images that are available in your local machine. As of now, there is no images available. That's why the field is empty. Similarly, there's another command called Docker PS process. So this command is used to get the list of containers that are up and running in your local machine. And here we have another command with option A, Docker PS-A. This is used to get the list of containers present in your machine. Whether it's in running state or in exit state, you will get the list of all containers. Right. So Docker images, Docker PS, and what is it? Docker PS-A. So this is to get the list of images in local machine. And this is to get the list of active containers. And this is to get the list of
Containers.
all active and exit and all containers, I can say. So whether it is active or exit state. If you simply say PS means only the active up and running containers will be listed. But if you want to know the list of all the containers, you can use -A. -A denotes all. Right. So as of now, there is no images or containers. Let's see how to work with images now. So first we'll see how to extract or identify from your container registry. Okay, here this is my container registry. And in this container registry, I can able to see some container images. Like if you want to work on CentOS, there is the image, CentOS image. Or if you want to work on Ubuntu, you can have that image. So just select any of this image and you can see there is a command to download the image. So Docker pull followed by the image name. So this is just to download and container image. Download a container image from Dockerhub to where? Local machine.
Local machine.
It is just to download the contain images from your Dockerhub registry to your local machine. It just downloads, okay? It won't create any containers. So let's say, for example, what is the command here? Docker pull CentOS. If I simply say the image name, it will always download the latest version. If you can see the list of versions, we have a huge list of versions available, right? So if you simply say Docker pull followed by that image name, this will always download the latest version from the list. If you want to work on any specific version, use the tag here. This is the image name and this is a tag. So if you can see my examples also in my earlier case, I was using the image name and the tag, right? So using the tag, you can able to pick up any specific version of that image. So let's say, for example, Docker images. There is no images in my list now. Let me say Docker pull CentOS. When I say Docker pull CentOS, it is trying to pull the latest version from the container registry. It is downloading it now. And you can see it is downloaded successfully. And if I say Docker images, that image is available in my local machine now. CentOS, and it has picked up the latest version. And this is a unique image ID assigned. You see? So this Docker pull command will always download the image. It will not create any container out of it. See, container list is empty. Now, if you want to create a container, for that you use a command called Docker run command, followed by the image name to create and execute the container based on the container image. So which image you mentioned here, based upon that image, your container will get created. Shall we create one container based upon this CentOS image now?
Yeah, sure.
It's a very simple and straightforward command. We can simply say Docker run, followed by the image name CentOS. So when I say Docker run CentOS, it will search this image from the local machine. If it is available, it creates a container out of it. It is created. If it is created, it should be in running state, right? That's what the requirement. No, it is used to create and execute or run the container. So how to get the list of running containers or active containers? What is the command?
Yes. Docker
PS.
PS.
Docker ps command to get the list of active containers. So if I say Docker ps command, can you able to see that container name?
No.
Or if I say Docker ps -a, see what happened? A container was created actually as part of this Docker run command. It has created one container and it uses the image CentOS image. Using this image, it has created one container. Just 33 seconds ago, it has created, and within a second, it went into exit state. Why so? It is not active, no? But my intention is to run the container. Why it is automatically get into exit state?
Because we don't have any task running on it.
So that is the basic property of your container. Remember, yesterday itself, we were talking about the properties of a container. Containers are used to run any application task, not an operating system. The image, whatever we used here, CentOS, it's a type of Linux operating system distribution, right? There is no task to execute there. It is just bin bash. It is just a command prompt. So when there is no task to execute, container will immediately go to exit state. It will free up all the resources. Correct?
Yeah.
So that is a basic property of a container. Any question?
Yeah, Loksai, you mentioned CentOS there. What was the command? Uh, Docker pull CentOS. If you will type docker pull Ubuntu here, what will happen?
It will download the Ubuntu image.
Okay, latest one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we need not to assign it to what Docker Hub, right? Directly it is taking by default.
That is what the container engine will do. Container
Okay.
engine by default is mapped to the Docker container registry.
Registry. Okay.
Yeah. The Docker Hub. Hmm? Now, another important thing is how to run the containers. So when you exit this container here, we have a cmd bin bash. What is this actually? This is the last command that was defined in that file. If you can see your container, CentOS image, the latest version of the CentOS, the layers, it composed of 3 layers, and the last layer is based upon the CMD. CMD is an instruction. It is used to define the startup task to a container. Bin bash is just a terminal. It is not a task. Okay, so using CMD, whenever you define any startup task, you can able to process some runtime inputs. So I'll talk about all these things in detail while we create a new image. But as of now, understand, whenever you create any container based upon that image, the last command, the CMD instruction, is used to send some startup task to the container. Say, for example, if I want, I can able to use a container like Docker run command. I can create another container with the same image name. But here, I want to give some runtime commands like sleep command. Sleep for 20 seconds. You know what is sleep command, right? In Linux, it is used to hold a process. So I just want to hold this container for 20 seconds. If I'm not using this, what will happen? Since there is no task, it will immediately go to exit state. But I want to hold this for 20 seconds. Let me create a duplicate terminal here. Docker images. There is no running containers, but there is only one container which we created earlier. So now I'm going to create one more container using the same image. But this time, I'm not going to run just with the basic bin bash CMD. I want to pass my own runtime input. See, the container is under execution. I'm unable to access the terminal because the container is running. It is executed for 20 seconds now. If I say docker ps, see the container started. It is running for 20 seconds. Once it reaches, it is running for 10 seconds now. Once it reaches 20 seconds, it will immediately go to exit state. See, it's gone. Hope you are following this. Don't try anything there, okay? Please observe. Once the container goes to exit state, because 20 seconds is over, right? Once the task is completed, automatically container goes to exit state. That's what. So the latest container, which we have created using CentOS image, using the sleep command for 20 seconds, was started, and at 38 minus 17, it lasts for 20 seconds and went to exit state. Once the container goes to exit, then only I got the access back to my terminal. Got it? I repeat, let's create one new container with this sleep command for 10 seconds for now. So when I say sleep command for 10 seconds, it will be running for 10 seconds. And for the 10 seconds, this terminal is completely locked by that process. So I cannot execute any commands here. Once it exits from the container, it releases the terminal. Correct? So what you have to understand here is there are 3 modes of run command. Three modes of run command or execution. The very first mode we call it as a active mode or foreground mode. Active mode or foreground mode. The second mode is called as a background mode or detached mode. And the third mode of execution we call it as interactive mode. So what does foreground mode means? Using foreground mode, whenever you run any container, till the process completes, you cannot access the terminal. The terminal will be completely locked by the container. That's what happened here, if you noticed. So this will hold the terminal. Correct. It means it will run the container in your foreground mode, that is in your active screen. Correct. So what is the syntax for this? We used Docker run followed by the image name. If you want, I can give some commands. It's optional, like sleep command or something like that. Anything like that. And another important thing is, this is the default mode of execution. It means whenever you use your Docker run command with an image name, by default, it runs in a foreground mode. That is why it is holding your terminal. See? Now, the next method is about background mode. I just want to run the same container in background mode. So it is used to run the container in background mode. Okay. So when it is running a background mode, the active terminal will be released by the container. We can able to use a terminal in parallel. So syntax here is Docker run -d followed by the image name in bash or anything. It depends. You can give your commands also. For example, here Docker ps, there is no active containers, and Docker ps -a. We have created these three containers. And now let me run or create one more container. Docker run for sleep 10 seconds, because if I'm not using the sleep command, it will immediately go to exit state. I can use the option called -d. Docker run -d. D denotes detached mode. Detached mode actually. Followed by the image name. So just observe here, if I execute this command, a container has been created and I can get the terminal access right away. If I want, I can use the Docker ps command or any other Linux commands here. It is still up and running. It's out. You see? So it's purely depends upon the requirement. While you are running the container, whether you want to keep your terminal reserved to the container or you can able to use it in parallel. If you want to lock the terminal while the container is in active state, you can run the container in an active mode. Or if you want to run the container in a background mode, you can use your detached option. Easy. Am I clear with this process or any other questions?
Yeah, so Sai, in real time, I think this is the command which we will use in detach mode.
Yeah, that's right. There's an option actually. D is just an option.
So once that, so once the task is completed, the container will go to exit mode automatically
Yep.
while running in the background.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and just for the clarification, Loksai, I am asking that we installed Docker firstly on the local machine, right?
Okay.
And then whatever images this Docker is getting is through the terminal. Oh, sorry, through the URL which you opened on the in the browser.
Ask a question again.
Registry, registry.
Ask a question again.
I'm saying this Docker is getting all the images from the Docker registry which you opened as the URL in your browser.
Dockerhub. Okay, that's it. In short.
Dockerhub. Okay.
Yes. So from Dockerhub only we are downloading that image.
Okay. Thank you.
See, these things are nothing new. Okay. When I say Docker PS means it is just a process. Any container you execute in using Docker engine, it just consider that container as a process. That process can be running in a interactive mode or in a background mode or in a foreground mode. And this is not something new. In any computing device, we have that. Let's say in my machine, right? In this laptop itself, if I go to task manager, I can able to see the lot of process up and running. These processes, it can be my active process, like the process that is running in my foreground mode, like Google Chrome or any other app which I'm using. And there are some background processes also, which are running in my background of this service, right? These many processes are up and running, but still I don't have any visibility of it. While these processes are running, I can still use this particular application. So if I want to work on this particular mobile extern, while this cursor is active on this particular application, I cannot access another application because it is running in a foreground mode. Same way, when you create any container, if you run it in a background mode, in the meantime, you can able to work on the same terminal. It is accessible. But when you run the same container in a foreground mode, till the process completes, you cannot access the terminal. Easy. This is one case. And apart from these two things, there is another important concept, that is interactive mode. This is something we frequently use. So what is the need for this interactive mode means? It is used to run the container in interactive mode. Mode to access. So if you can see my architecture last session, I have a computing device. In this computing device, I have underlying hardware and I have my operating system and I have my container engine installed. Right now, using this container engine, I can able to create some number of containers. That's what we are doing now. Like C1, C2, C3, C4. We have created 5 containers in our machine. Container is also, it is a kind of a computing environment. It is a logical entity which is running on top of your operating system, right? So here, this container we use, what is it called? CentOS, right? We use a CentOS operating system to create this container. And if I want, I can able to run some application also, right? I can able to log into this container, right? So in order to do that, we have to run it in interactive mode. So if your intention is to log into your container and make some interactive process, you have to run it in interactive mode. And the syntax here is Docker run -it. Docker run -it. I means interactive. T denotes terminal. In that terminal, we are going to make an interactive container followed by the image name like and bash terminal. I just want to access in a bash terminal, or if you simply ignore also, it will pick up the latest command from that instruction. So for example, I have these many images. This is the image we have, CentOS. And now what we are going to do here is, if you can see, there is no, what is it called? PS. There is no process, active process. But if I say Docker PS -a, I can able to see some set of containers which are in exit state. I'll come back to the exit state shortly, but before that, I want to create a container. That container should be in interactive mode. So let's say, for example, Docker run command -it followed by the image name CentOS. In a bash terminal I want to use. See, it has created one container and the control is within the container now. This is my host machine, and once the container is running, the control is within the container now. I can able to access it. If I say ls, I can able to run some CentOS commands here. So it means in our Ubuntu machine, the base OS or the VM is running in Ubuntu, right? This base OS is Ubuntu, correct? Our slave node is in Ubuntu. On this machine, we are running one container in an interactive mode using CentOS. Similarly, you can able to create another container, run it in interactive mode, and you can able to install some applications. Anything is possible, right? So if I'm working on this container interactive mode, I can able to do any task. Like I can able to install Git, I can install JDK, I can install Maven. All these things I can install within the container. And once I have Git in place, I can download the source code, perform Maven build, create the artifacts. Possible, no? So I'm just trying to relate the things with what we discussed on last session. So what we have seen there, I have a slave node. In that slave node, we install container engine. And using the container engine, we have created one container now. This is what the container, it is active. So in this container, if you want to install the required Java application build tools like JDK or Maven, you can install it. Yum install JDK. It will work. Easy. So that is how we can able to create some containers and run in interactive mode. And once the process completes, you can simply say exit. It just exits from the container. All right. So these are three different modes of execution. And if you observed here, any container we create, your container engine will assign a unique container ID. And it has the image reference, the last command which we use to execute the container, and the create, when it is created, what is the status of it? And then the port number. Port means a container port. If your container is running any web application server like Tomcat or Nginx, or even if you run your Jenkins inside the container, you can able to expose a port, container port. You can able to find the port numbers here. And apart from this container ID, your container engine will assign a unique name to the container. This name is auto-generated by the container engine. If you want, you can able to assign your name. You can able to assign your application specific name also. This is customizable, but you cannot assign the container ID. Easy. So can you all able to understand the various modes of execution now? It's a very important for interview also. During interview, definitely they'll ask you what are the various modes of execution, what is the syntax for it, and what is the difference between foreground, background, and interactive mode. Any question?
Yeah, looks like everything is pretty much clear, but the only confusion is with the container engine. You said we installed a layer of container engine. What do you mean by that?
See, if you want to download the source code repository in your build server, what you need? If I want to clone my GitHub repository in my local machine, what I need?
Uh, we need to clone, give a CLI command first.
I need to install Git first, right?
Yeah, upon installation, yes.
So using that Git package only, I can able to run some Git CLI commands, correct?
Yes.
Similarly, if you want to download or work on any Docker CLI commands, first you have to install that Docker CLI, the Docker engine, which we installed, docker.io. Remember?
Okay, so that is what you are referring with Docker engine.
Yes. So
Oh,
when I
Oh,
say install docker.io, we have actually
yeah,
installed the Docker engine. Can you see this reference?
yeah. Now it's clear. I was confused that we installed Docker, then what is Docker engine? We never installed it. Now you cleared it.
All right.
Yeah.
So shall we proceed or you want to have a quick break and come back?
Yeah, please. 5 minutes of break.
How about others, guys? Are we okay with this session? Can you able to understand the basic commands? Any questions?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, looks like what and all commands we are typing, right? It is interacting with Docker engine, and Docker engine is doing the work,
Yeah.
like pulling the image
Yeah.
from the registry. Correct?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So you can have a quick 15, no, it's too much. So we can have a quick 5 minutes break. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Sure. Thank you.
So shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, so like this, we can have some Docker CLI commands to work with your containers, container images. Hmm. Let's say there is a command called Docker stop command, container ID. And similarly, there is another command called start command. Okay. So this Docker run, it will run it in interactive mode. If I say Docker run -it and Ubuntu, what it mean? In bash mode. What will happen now? It will try to create a new container based upon this Ubuntu image, and it runs the container in interactive mode using bash terminal. So for example, where is it? Docker images. So we have just only one image. If I use Docker run -it using the image name like Ubuntu in a bash terminal. So my expectation is I want to create a container using this Ubuntu image, but this image is not present in my local machine. So what should I do now?
So first we have to pull.
So when you say Docker pull command, it will just download the image. If you want, you can able to run it later point of time. But instead of Docker pull, if you directly say Docker run, it will try to search that image in the local machine first. Unable to find that image in local machine, so it is pulling from the container registry and created a container out of it. See, this is a container because I have exited in interactive mode. So if I see, if you see this duplicate terminal here, okay, Docker PS, one new container is created and it is up and running. It is still active because it is in interactive mode. Till I exit the container, it will be in running state. So this is the container ID and this is the image that is used. If I say Docker PS-A, you can see we have the running container and also all the containers in exit state. That's what -a denotes. Easy. So now the point is, I'm able to execute my container in interactive mode. If the image is not present in my local machine, it can automatically download from the container registry and creates a container. Like this, I can able to access it any number of times. Let's say I have this one, and if I want, I can able to install Git. If I say Git version, see, there is no Git installed in the container because that image will not have Git by default, right? So in my local Ubuntu machine, I am running one container using Ubuntu image. And I just want to consider this container for my build activity, application build activity. So what I can do, I can able to install the required build tools like apt update. I can update the packages. It's all happening inside the container, not in your VM, okay? And I can say apt git. It will download install git.
Loksai, so since you are already installing Git, could you please install Nginx as well for once? I want to ask something on the same machine.
Is that related to this conversation or like?
Yeah, with this only.
Just listen, okay? Well, let me complete this topic. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
So now we have just installed Git. And if I say Git version, you can see the Git package installed. So what we're trying to understand here is at any point of time, we can able to run the container, create a new container and make it run in interactive mode. And while you're working on the container, you can able to do any activities. Like I can use git clone command to clone my repository. And if I install Maven, like if I say apt install Maven, it will install Maven. And using Maven clean package command, I can able to create a package also. Everything is possible. And once the process completes, I can simply exit from here. Now the container is in exit state. Right? This container is in exit state. Assume that this container is installed with all the required build tools. It can be your Maven or Python or whatever. Now I want to perform another build. So if I want to perform another build, can I create one more container here by using Docker run command? If I do this, it will create a new container. And in that container, you won't find the build tools. You have to install everything from the scratch. Correct. Remember, yesterday we used one term. Any container you execute, it execute in its own dedicated or isolated address space. What are all the entities you are running inside the container, whether it's a Git or Maven, whatever, the underlying OS or the next neighboring container will not have any clue about it. The scope of the application is within the container. So when you run execute a run command, it will create a new container, and again you have to install all the required build tools. Right? It's totally waste of resources. So how we can able to handle the situation means I already have a container which is installed with the required build tools, right? So I can use Docker start command to start the container. Docker start followed by the container ID. So this command will just start your container. That's what I mentioned here. Docker start followed by the container ID just to start your container. But once the container is started, if you want, you can use Docker PS and see it is up and running. But how I can able to interact with the container? We cannot say Docker start -it and all. It's not possible. Start command is just to start the container. My container is already up and running. So how I can able to log into the running container? What is the command we used here to log into running container? Remember, this command used to access in interactive mode. Similarly, if you want to do it in the running container, you can use the command docker exec -it followed by the container ID, which you want to log in bash terminal. I repeat, docker exec command is used to log into your running container. Okay, it is used to log into your running container. So in order to execute this command, the syntax is docker exec -it followed by the container ID in your terminal, bash terminal or whatever. So this is your syntax. And you can consider this as an example. You see? So container ID is required. It acts as the input to your docker exec command. And you cannot execute your docker exec command to the container which is already in exit state. If you want to use docker exec command, the container should be in running state. That is the reason first we have executed the docker start command with that container ID, and we have executed this exec command. So now if I execute this, I can see the control is within the container now. And this is an existing container. Okay, already we have installed some packages here. So if I simply say git version, it is there already. So I no need to go and install it again and again. So if your container is available in your local machine, at any time you can able to start and log into the container and reuse the packages whatever you installed. Understood the point now? If your container is present in your machine, you can able to start the container any number of times, and you can able to access the package which is already installed in the container. It won't get deleted. Now, if I say exit, what it mean?
It will go back to the root level bash terminal.
It comes out of the container.
It just exit from that exe command. And
Yeah.
if I say docker ps, can I able to see the container in running state?
No.
Yes, it is in running state, because this exit command, it is just to exit from this exe. That means using exec, if you can able to log into container, means when you issue exit command, it just log off from the container. That's all. But still the container is up and running because you manually started the container. So if you don't want this container to be up and running, you can simply say docker stop followed by the container ID. Got it? So there are a lot of differences between exec command and the run command. Both look similar. Like for example, this run command also in interactive mode, we are going to use docker run -it using a bash terminal. Here also we use exec -it in a bash terminal. So the basic difference is docker run command will always create a new container. I repeat, docker run command will always create a new container. Ex command will never create a new container. It will just log into the running container. Easy. And another important point is docker run command uses the image name as the input, because it has to create a new container. To create a container, it needs an image name. But the exe command uses the container ID as the input to start the running container. Easy. So whenever you log into the container, and if you think the container is no longer, if you want to exit from the container, you can use docker stop command to stop it. Hope you all can understand differences, right? Any question?
Loksai, since we just have limited number of containers here, just 5 or 6, so you are able to know or predict that in this container I have these tool, this tool, and that tool installed. But I think if, let's say, it's 50 containers there in the exit state, and just number is that ID is written there, how would someone be able to recognize that in which container all these tools are
That's what you
installed?
have a name, right? While creating a container, you can assign the name to the container. It is possible. I'll show you how to assign a name to a container.
Okay.
If you want to uniquely identify, or if you want to create any container for any specific process, you can assign the name to your container. It can be for dev environment or for QA environment, or for any user specific container, you can use it.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
So, sir, in this case, we are using this OS, which one? CentOS, right? CentOS. So it is not a full OS, right? Full blown OS, right? It is like a
It's a
limited
base
OS,
version. It is just a base
base
version.
version.
Yeah, it is just
Okay,
like a vanilla version, right?
okay. We could
So
not be able to run every command in.
you have to update the package, yum update package. It will
Okay.
then update all the required packages. On top of it, if you want, you can able to install the packages one by one. It will not have everything, because we always maintain the container image as a lightweight entity. Correct? So if
Yeah.
required, we can log into the container and install the required packages.
So the essential things which should be there in order to run an application, so only those will be there, right, in that image.
Sorry?
The essential things which are required for running an application or building something, only those
Uh-huh.
things will be there, right, inside that image.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay.
Okay. So this is about how to create a container, how to stop, how to start, and how to log into your running container in an interactive mode. And in addition to that, we'll be learning about other essential services. Service in sense like consider I just want to work on any service-based container package like Tomcat or Nginx. So such services will be assigned or defined in a container, and it will be having its own port number to execute. Correct. So the next important topic in the list is about the port mapping. Listen carefully. It's a very important topic here. Port mapping, or it is also called as port binding. So what is the purpose of port binding or port map means? It is used to map the container port with the host port. Okay. If you want, you can take it from your known things. Like in your previous module, you must have installed Tomcat, right? Where you installed Tomcat and how you access Tomcat.
On the OPT folder, we just installed and extracted the Tom.
So in our previous module, we have installed a Tomcat directly in a VM, right? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
And once the Tomcat is installed, and if it is up and running, we have accessed the Tomcat service using the IP address of the VM, followed by the port 8080. So point here is the service, whatever I have installed, it is directly running in my virtual machine. So I can use the IP address of that virtual machine and the application's port number to access that application through web browser. Right. Now, I'm not interested to run or install this Tomcat in my VM. Consider I have a VM, and in this VM, I'm going to create one container. Let it be container 1. And within the container, I'm going to use my Tomcat image to run a Tomcat service. So the service, whatever you executed in your virtual machine, now it is running inside a container with the same port 8080. So how I can able to access this Tomcat service through web browser? By default, it's not possible. Why? Because any container you create, it will be running in its own isolated address space. The scope of the application, it is within that container. You cannot access that application outside the container by default. Your underlying virtual machine, the operating system, will not have any clue about what you are running inside the container. It is completely isolated. Then how I can able to expose this to internet? First of all, why I should expose it to internet, I guess? Any guess why we should expose and access it through internet or your web browser?
I guess because it's a web application server, that is the reason.
All right. So for what are all the applications you'll be using that process? Say, for example, consider I have an web application service. I have a sign-in service or login page. So when I say a login service, that will be like having a front-end design, and I'll be having your back-end design as well, your application layer as well. Like assume that it's a 3D application architecture. So there should be a user interface through which the end user can able to enter their inputs. That is what we are preparing here and access through a browser. So this Tomcat web server, it will be providing an user interface to your application. So this particular container should be exposed to internet. Correct. But by default, it's not possible. Why? Because it is running inside the container. So what I can do means I can use a concept called port mapping. So using port mapping, we can able to map the container port with that host port. This VM will be having the port numbers, right? So that port number can be mapped with your container port. And with this, we can able to expose the container or applications to internet. Correct. It is used to expose the container applications to internet. So how it is possible? What are all the syntax or commands we need to use means it's a very straightforward approach. Only thing is you need to take care of the proper port numbers. It's mandatory. And this port numbers also you can able to get it by default. Depends upon the package which you want to run. If you want to use your Tomcat, or someone is asking about Nginx, right? Or HTTPD, whatever the web application server you use, each and every web application server will be having its own port number. Like for Tomcat, we use 8080. And your Nginx is another web application server, it uses 80. HTTP also uses 80. Right. So depends upon your application, the container port will be defined by default in that image. That can be mapped with your host port. All right. So how it is possible, how we can able to map it means there is a syntax. We use a syntax like -p. -p denotes publish. We are going to publish the host port followed by the container port. Host port and the container port will be mapped together while running a container. For example, if you want to work on Tomcat, let's say Docker run, what is that called? -it, I can use -p followed by the port number. What is the default port for Tomcat? It is port 8080. And I want to map it to any other port like 8089. So this is my container port. So from where you can get this deal means just go to your container registry and search for the Tomcat image. You can able to find the huge list of Tomcat images. If you open any one specific image here, you can see the layers of that image. There you can find it is exposed to port 8080. Or from your official documentation, a previous page also, you can able to get those details. So the default port will be identified with the help of your image. Similarly, if you want to work on Nginx, we have Nginx image. You don't need to manually install Nginx. That's why I haven't installed it. So you use your Nginx image and you can get into this, get into the version of that image, and you can see to which port it is mapped. So it is a inherited property. It is not having latest version. See, 6 days ago, they just published it by using the previous version. They just inherited it. See, 80. So these are some incremental changes they made on this image. Already they have this, and this is the latest change they introduced with the run command. So it is having port 80 exposed. Like this, any web application server use, it will be having its own port number that should be mapped with your host port. So what we can do here, -p followed by the container or image name like Tomcat. If you simply say Tomcat, it will download latest version. Or if you want to go with any specific version, you can give the tag number here. So image name followed by the tag number, separated by colon. That's important. Tomcat colon 8.0. You see, Tomcat colon 8.0. So this command, whatever you're going to execute, it will create one container and it will map your container port with your host port. You see? But before you run this command, ensure that you have enabled this host port. That's very important. How to enable the port number in the host machine? Go to that instance, select the security group, and you can see this is my slave node. We haven't installed any Tomcat server. Let's edit the inbound rule of the security group and let me add a port number. If you want, you can manually add all the available ports, or for the sake of demo, what I can do, just click on add and allow all traffic. I just enabled all the available ports. It's my dummy demo server, so there is no problem in adding it. Or you have to explicitly add the port numbers one by one. Correct. So just go to security group and allow all traffic for now, and then save the rule. So it means I can able to interact with my EC2 instance through any port. All ports are open now. Hope you all able to understand.
Yes.
Okay. So now that we have prepared our host machine and we are going to create one container. So to create a container, I can directly run this command, docker images. And here, there is no Tomcat image. Let it be, it will download one new image to my local machine. So docker run -it -p followed by the port number. Or I'll do one thing. If you want, I'll just simply create one container and show you the difference. Okay, let's create this new container in an interactive mode using bash terminal. Just a small example I'll show you. I'll show you without port mapping how it looks like, and with port mapping how it will be. See, it is trying to download the image. It is pulling the latest, Tomcat 8.0 version, and it is going to get executed in an interactive mode. See, by default, it is pointing to this directory. You remember Tomcat default directory. If I say ls, you should be able to see the Tomcat components. Like we have web apps folder. If you go to the web apps folder, you can able to find those components. What is the default directory for Tomcat? We have defined in our Jenkins opt/tomcat/web app. Remember, in this folder, we keep all our artifacts. If I open a duplicate terminal, you can see this is the container which we just created and is up and running using Tomcat 8.0 image. And the port number which is assigned to that container is port 8080. As of now, it is not mapped with your host machine. Though your Tomcat service is up and running in the container, you cannot access through web browser because it is not exposed to internet. It is running within the container. Now, what I can do, I can create a new container. If I want, I can exit from here. And here, with the same command, I want to create a new container, but this time I want to publish it. What is the port, container port? It is 8080. And the host port, I have all ports available. I can use any port to map this. So I can use port 8089, something like this. Correct. And I'm not interested to log in as of now or in a bash terminal. If I use bash terminal, it will not start the startup script actually. Like if you can see here, this Tomcat service, where is it? Yeah. So this Tomcat, it is having the last command dot catliner.sh. This is nothing but your startup script actually. Only if you run this script, your Tomcat service will be up and running. If you use bash, it will replace this command. So if you want to keep your Tomcat service up and running inside the container, directly use docker run -it-p followed by the image name. That's it. Now this command will create a new container, and see it has started the script also. Catlin.sh script is started. And if you see the list of containers, hope it's visible, right, for you people? See, this is the container which we just started, and it is running with this default shell script to start the container service inside the container. And here, this is a container port, which is mapped with your host port. Port 8080 of your container is mapped to your host machine. Now, if I want, I can use my external IP address of a machine. Take this public IP address and use port. What is the port we have used there? What should be port number here?
8089. Right.
Yes, the host port. Correct. So when you say the host port, you should able to access your Tomcat service with that host port. So this is how your Tomcat will be mapped to your host machine. And like this, it is not just about one thing. Okay, as of now, there is no applications running into the Tomcat. We haven't deployed any war file or nothing. It is just a simple script. It is up and running. If you understand this logic properly, you can able to access the Tomcat image. Let's say if I use a command like docker hyphen, if I use a bash terminal here, hope you are seeing this. Docker on -it, you can use a port mapping with port 80 or 8099, and here the control is automatically getting into this path, and here go to the web apps folder. So this will be my target folder. Tomorrow, if you want to deploy your application artifacts into your container, you will be choosing this as a target folder. So the process architecture will be, in our previous Jenkins module, we were talking about the deployments. Remember? So I was showing you the source path and the target path. If you have a dedicated Tomcat server, and if you want to directly access it through your VM, you can copy that WAR file into the web apps folder of that virtual machine. That's what we did, right? Remember? Now, if you want to containerize this, if you want to create a package out of it, the same WAR file should be deployed into the container volume, not your host volume. That container volume is what? This one. There is a separate topic called volumes. I'll talk about that. But as of now, understand how we can able to map your port numbers or expose your port numbers or containers to your internet. Easy? So everything is in exit state now. Any question? So port mapping means it is used to map your container port with your host port. At any point of time, you can able to access your application running inside your container. Any question, please let me know.
Yes. Looks like after allowing all traffic in the AWS console,
Hmm.
then you mentioned this port as 8089. So it could be anything as per our choice.
Yes, yes.
Otherwise, by default, what it should be.
As per your application, which port you want to use, you can use it.
Okay, so that will be mentioned in the in that documentation. Through there, I can pick that port number.
Yes. So in
Oh,
real-time environment, as like that, we cannot choose your host port. It is purely depends upon your infra team. They'll be allowing only certain number of ports due to some security reasons, right? So
mm,
only those ports you can able to access it to your through your application containers.
okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
So I'll stop with this for now. If you have any question, please let me know. You can use the latest version of Tomcat. Okay, I just gave you an example like how to use your tag number. Tomcat followed by the tag. How to pass the tag, because earlier I was not using any tags here, right? Directly I'm using that image name. But if you want, you can use your tag, and if you want to use the tag, use colon to separate the name and the version. And it is recommended to use the latest version or just a previous version. Don't go with the oldest version and all. You won't get a support for that image. Easy. Like
Yeah.
it can be 8.5, or you can simply say Tomcat. It should be fine, no problem. So I'll be uploading all these content in your repository. So this is the one, right? Training documents. Oh, we have Docker folder. Right. So you want these commands?
Yeah, please mention it.
So this includes all the commands which we have executed today, like starting from your Docker installation and other stuff.
I was asking something related to the Nginx, Loksai.
What's the question?
Yeah, so I was 2 days back. I was practicing the Linux. It's a general question. Just I installed the Nginx using apt install nginx-y, and then I tried to check for the version
Okay.
nginx space hyphen version, but I never get any result for that. I was getting it for every other tool and package,
Just
but
use Nginx hyphen version.
nginx version. Let me note it down. We'll try it today.
It should work.
Nginx version.
So others, how's the flow now? Are you guys able to understand things or any issues? Nothing is here. Okay.
Is it possible for you to show me on your machine? Hardly it will take a moment.
You already installed, right? Just use Nginx hyphen version. It should work.
Nginx version. But why we are not using two hyphens here? Just one.
It depends on the
Yeah.
package, right? Nginx is a CLI command. For that command, what is the option they have defined? That is what you can use, right? That hyphen is not a standard for all the tools or packages. It depends upon the package. So before you install such tools, you have to go through the official documentation. Have you done that? There you can
No.
able to understand what all the options or commands associated to that. You can follow the same.
Okay.
All right. So let me stop these instances. Any other questions you guys have, please let me know. Shall I?
Yeah.
Okay. All good. So tomorrow in the next session, we'll see a lot more commands related to your Docker volume, and we'll see how to work with your image build activities, how to create a new image, and how to publish the image to the container registry, and all we'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow, yes, we'll be able to complete it. Yep.
Okay. So have you uploaded this document in the GitHub repository?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm not getting sync fork update option here.
Please refresh your page. I think it should be available once you refresh because it is there now.
Yeah, got it. Got
Yep.
it. All right, thank you.
Yep. So how about others, guys? Any question? No questions from others?
It's clear,
Oh.
looks like. Thank you.
All right, then I open the poll. Please respond to that, and we'll connect tomorrow.
Looks like we can use port 8080 for slave and the Tomcat servers. That is containers, like both. We can use the same port number, right? If you want.
Both lessons?
In the container and the slave nodes, which we enable the ports, right? We can use the same port also, right? 8080 for both the both
Yeah,
the.
both your host port and the container port can be same. No problem.
Okay, okay.
All right. Thank you. If you don't have any other question, then we'll close this call. We'll connect tomorrow. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.